right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you all for taking time out of your schedule to join us for our Arthur and book event with TJ Shaw and Marcine Weatherall and their wonderful book, Be Intentional. And I'm so excited to hear that they got a journal to go with the book. So they'll talk more about that. That's great. So thank you all for coming out. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. They're gonna share a little bit about how they met and some important highlights of their books, and then we'll do a Q&A, and then we'll do the signing. And at any time, you can help yourself to refreshments. All right, so I'm gonna turn it over to our beautiful Arthurs. So excited that you're here. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank
So we
you.
appreciate you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Marcine Weatherall, and I am co-founder and half of Intentional Hearts Counseling and Consulting. I am a counselor specializing in addiction and trauma counseling. I use a solution-focused approach. We launched Intentional Hearts in March of last year, so we are going on just under 1 year. And super excited that in that time we have also written 2 books that we want to talk to y'all about today. And then I will let Dr. TJ introduce herself, and then we'll talk about the book.
Good afternoon. Yes, it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I am Dr. TJ Jackson Straw, just Dr. TJ. I am the other half, the co-pilot. We are co-pilots of Intentional Hearts Counseling Consulting, and I specialize also in substance use and addiction, prevention, and intervention. A lot of times people only think of the intervention part of it, but we do a lot of prevention work in that as well. I also work with those who are trying to overcome perfectionism and all that comes with that, and also with those who have adolescents and young adults who have criminal justice involvement. I do a lot of work with that. I love to work with those individuals. And I want to talk a little about the book.
So our thing here is 2 vibes, 1 vision. You can see that we work very well together, but we have 2 totally different styles, 2 totally different vibes. But we complement each other in the work that we do. We join forces to do family interventions, which is one of our specialties. We also do in-home counseling. So we specialize and love to go to people where they're at. So a lot of our services are provided in-home. Families will call and we will come in and do family interventions when they have a loved one who they want to get into treatment or make some progress in their thinking. And so
Ayala Vincent.
No, not like Ayala Vincent.
No.
Oh, y'all do
That's a whole nother story.
Right.
We
More
do
like
that
the
as licensed clinicians.
I like the show intervention, but it can be
Yes.
for substance use
Mhm.
needs as well. It can be for substance use needs as well as mental health, general mental health needs. And I forgot to add that she's solution focused, and I am what's called REBT, which is Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. And what that basically means is I believe in if you can change the thought that lies behind the behavior, you can change the behavior.
Which really brings us to our book, because our book is all about addressing and arresting those negative thoughts that consume us on a very regular basis. And so our book really started off as us having some discussions about creating a coloring book that we could use with our clients. And it has evolved into an entire activity book on positive thinking, really self-positive affirmations. And so we began this project just trying to think about how we can keep our mindset positive, because we usually will go to negative thoughts automatically. And we don't really have the capacity or the skills in order to change those thoughts and think on those things that are positive. And so the activity book takes you through a series of activities, a series of challenging questions, and we'll talk about some of those today. I'll let Dr. TJ talk about it, but we both have 2 very different, I'm going to say taglines,
Different but compatible.
but compatible. And mine is that you are your best accessory. So you will hear me say that often, that you are your best accessory. And what I mean by that is that you have everything within you to be everything that you need to be. That accessories are usually those things that enhance our strengths, that complement what we already have. And so really helping people to realize that you are complete, you are enough, and you have everything within you to be successful. And using solution focused therapy, we believe that you already have all the answers that you need inside of you. So I go by that. That's the way I do my therapy. And that's what I really pushed for in writing this book.
And then my tagline is hold on to hope. And I believe that as long as you have hope, then you have a chance. And what happens is that people lose that hope, and that's when they begin to feel defeated. That's when depression or anxiety can overtake them and all of that. And so holding on to hope means understanding that the negative circumstances are a part of life. Bad things are going to happen. Things that we don't like are going to happen, but so too are positive ones. And so when it comes to a positive thinking activity book, it's not about, there's this thing called toxic positivity, where it's ignoring the things that are not, like, oh, I'm not going to let any bad vibes in or something like that. And it's not, it's about acknowledging what's not working for us. It's acknowledging what's not going well in our life, and then taking ownership of what we can do to control it without isolating ourselves from everyone else.
One of the groups of people I really love working with are women. I do a lot of women empowerment, self-esteem, self-worth work. And so this activity book has been very beneficial in working with my clients. It's a creative way to encourage positive thinking, anything from coloring to trying to determine who is in your support circle, how to manage your emotions, what am I truly feeling, but really staying in a positive mindset to support mental health. And so Dr. TJ will talk to you a little bit about how to use this book. We'll talk about some of the activities that are in the book, and then we'll open it up for questions.
So the activity book has 22 activities that support mental health and can be used with people of all ages. So one of the things is we come from a public school background. We both worked in the public school setting. It's actually where we met. Marcine used to be the director of intervention services for a school district, and I was one of the intervention counselors for that school district, and I worked at the alternative school. And so with that, we are always thinking about how to, whatever the things that we create, we want to make sure it can be used with a variety of ages. It can be used as professionals can use it, as well as lay persons and private individuals. And so our activity book has 26 activities, and each activity has discussion questions on the back page of it that you can either do on your own or process with yourself. If you're working in a group setting, you all can talk about it. If you're working with a client, you can work with that client one-on-one with it. It's also divided into 7 parts, and each part starts off with vocabulary. So we want to teach the language of positive thinking. We want to teach the skills of positive thinking, and then we want to provide opportunity to process the act of positive thinking.
We start off in the book just with this quote, because the words that come from your mouth, you're the first to hear. Speak words of beauty and you will be there. No matter what anybody says, what matters most is what you think of yourself. And so that's the theme throughout the entire book is what do you think about yourself? What are you telling yourself? And how do you maintain a positive mindset? There are some activities that we wanted to go over with you today in the book.
And she's doing that. The sections of the book, just to see how it's organized. Part 1 is getting grounded. So before you do anything else, let's clear out the space and prepare your mind, prepare your body to do the work of positive thinking. And then we go into don't fight the feelings, where we talk about feelings and acknowledging feelings and emotions. Then it's reflection and growth. And what are you saying to yourself? What is your thought pattern about in your mind? And then helpers and heroes, where we're talking about who are your helpers and who are your heroes. Part 5 is systems at work. And we talk about the different support systems and areas where you feel supported. Then caring and coping, identifying your coping skills and how to care for yourself. And lastly, restoration, where it's like a reflection of everything that's going on within the book.
You want to start with an activity?
Let's start with under getting grounded. And I held up Marcine's "You Are Your Best Accessory," and then the next one after that is the "Hold On to Hope." And these are just examples of our coloring pages. And with the coloring pages, I don't find coloring pages soothing, just because I'm a recovering perfectionist and it's a lot and it's detailed and it's all the things. It's a process. But I like coloring pages, and for those who do like them, because it's soothing and it stimulates both sides of the brain, and it is an activity that can help people de-escalate and come back to a status of, let's say, tranquility and balance. And so we've already kind of talked about what the different ones are, but some of the questions that are asked with these two, you want to go over your questions? Or you want me to do both?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so some of the questions, so for like, "You Are Your Best Accessory," one of the questions asks, discuss the purpose of accessories. And kind of what Marcine was saying earlier is to enhance what you already have. And if we're saying you are your best accessory, that means you are the very thing you need to enhance your strengths. And another question is, we have different accessories in the pitch in the picture, and it says, choose an accessory from the picture. How does it represent a characteristic about you that you want to emphasize more? So again, it's about reflecting. It's not just coloring. It's about reflecting on the content that's within.
And then there's a question about what is not included in the picture that represents a positive personal characteristic. So sometimes things are not there in front of us. And how do we find those things, those positive strengths that we have, that we either keep buried, that we don't acknowledge, that we hide? Because remember, we're always working to be walking our authentic self, right? We will automatically revert to walking out into the world with a mask on. And how do we tap into walking into our authentic self every single day?
The next one is the hold on to hope. And some of the questions with that are, what does it look like for you to hold on to hope? So when things are hard and you're trying to just press through, what does that look like for you? How do you know you're at that stage where, you know what, all I have is hope? And that question is involving knowing how your body speaks to you and knowing how your brain speaks to you and becoming aware and attentive to what your body is, the signals that your body and brain are sending to you. Another question is, what is one hope you have? Sometimes it's not even sometimes, often it's scary to hope and to say that thing out loud that you're hoping for. And so again, as we're training the brain, we're getting the body and brain ready to start having those positive thoughts.
There's a therapist in the room, so you can appreciate that. First and foremost, we have to acknowledge our feelings, and our feelings are our feelings. That's the only real truth, right? This is the way we feel. And our feelings are amazing. So we start the book off by having people get grounded in just feeling their emotions, because those things control our thoughts and control our actions. And so just realizing that your feelings are not good or bad, they are what they are. And really sitting in that and acknowledging what your feelings are. Some of the questions that we talk about are, and acknowledging that your feelings or emotions are amazing. How did you celebrate or acknowledge those amazing things or feelings that you've had? What are some barriers to you and your amazing things? We kept the word amazing attached to your feelings throughout the book. And so how do you acknowledge? How do you process? How do you celebrate those feelings every single day?
And doing amazing things don't have to be big things.
Right.
I often talk about when I was going through my depression, and sometimes that amazing thing was I got up and got out of bed and fixed myself something to eat. That was the amazing thing that I did today. For some people is, I went to work and I didn't go off on anybody today. That is the amazing thing that I did today. And sometimes it can be big, amazing things. It can be, today, you know what? I started my own business. Today I had a book signing. That's an amazing thing that I have done or am doing today. So amazing things are what is amazing for you in that day, in that moment. It doesn't have to be what is amazing for everybody else, but for yourself personally.
And part of that is talking about smiling. We talk about how it really does release endorphins for you to smile and to practice smiling. How many of us practice smiling? Just smile for a moment. A lot of times it's uncomfortable for people. And some people are just not comfortable with smiling. And so we talk about how comfortable are you at smiling? Smile at yourself for just a moment, right? And how did that feel? What messages do you send when you smile? To even other people or even yourself? How do you interpret the smile of others? Is it a part of the way you communicate on a regular basis, or do we walk around with a grimace, or do we hide that smile? Or is our smile dependent on other people and how they make us feel, or if or not they're smiling to us? So we want people to just explore their comfort and their ability to smile and what that feels like, and practice doing that on a very regular basis. Smile, be intentional about smiling, and watch how it will simply change the way you feel and change the trajectory of your day.
And now, thinking about culturally, what is smile like? This is Texas. We're in the South. For the most part, we're a friendly place in general. We're a friendly place. In other parts of the country, people kind of text and they're like, "Oh my God, y'all smile so much." You're from Michigan.
We don't smile.
Right. I visited New York not too
Cold
long
place,
ago.
cold people, right? Tawana.
I visited New York not too long ago. It is like, no, you don't just smile at strangers there. And so, like, culturally, what does it mean to smile? When working with men, I talk about smiling a lot because the smile is to show weakness. The smile is to show softness. I'm not going to smile in my picture. I got to look hard in my picture, So those kind of conversations.
And that brings us to the circle challenge, because when I ask people, how do you feel? We identify two very specific feelings, mad and sad, right? I'm mad, or I'm sad, or I'm happy, and that's it. And so we challenge people to come up with 12 feelings, draw 12 faces to acknowledge 12 different feelings. And it seems like a simple task in the book, but you really have to dig deep to think about other feelings. There are lots of feelings: shame, guilt, embarrassed, frustrated, confused, hungry. There's all kind of feelings that we don't truly process and sit in because we don't acknowledge those feelings. And so we have a circle challenge that we also have in the book, where we ask you, draw emotions and then tell us what that emotion is. When have you experienced that emotion? What emotion is considered to be bad? Because those emotions we consider bad are those emotions that we usually don't tap into.
And then after that, we go into the reflection and growth part of the book. And I want to read this definition. It's growth mindset. So again, we're teaching vocabulary. And growth mindset is understanding that your skills and abilities are not preset and predetermined. Instead, they can grow and develop with training, consistent effort, and time. And one of the things we talk about in this section is to begin growth mindset, you have to start with loving yourself and loving who you are. Because if I don't love myself, then I'm not even giving myself the opportunity to develop and train muscles of growth, because I feel like I'm stuck. I am what I am and nothing's going to change. That's called a fixed mindset.
So can I stop you for a minute?
Yes, ma'am.
So what does that mean to love yourself, and how do you show yourself love? So we gave these things out, self-love languages. We often talk about and we hear about the love languages, right? How to love other people, or how do we figure out what our love language is and how we want to be loved. What about self-love language? Have we identified and have we figured out how we love ourselves and how we could best love ourselves? And so that's part of the growth mindset too, is how do you show yourself love, and what does it mean to love yourself? If your self-love language is not word of affirmation, but we're telling you to tell yourself on a regular basis that you're wonderful, beautiful, great, and strong, maybe you need to figure out how to best love yourself in your own self-love language. It's something that we don't talk about. We do talk about it on how to love others and how we want others to love us, but we do not tap into love language when it comes to loving ourselves.
And then after that is believe, you become what you believe. So once we're talking about loving ourselves, then what do I believe about myself? Because I can love myself and still believe negative things about myself. And what I believe about myself is what I will inevitably become. I used to coach different sports, and in volleyball, we talk about wherever you're looking, that's where the ball is going to go. You know, in track, wherever you're looking, you look towards the finish line. And so what we believe about ourselves is where we're looking, and so we're always going to head where we look. And lastly, we talk about the power of yet. I believe hope is the most powerful word, and yet it falls under that for me. And I'm going to read this one verbatim. Regardless of what you've been through or may have done, you still matter. At your best, you matter, and you matter just as much at your worst. Yet is a powerful word. Yet means it hasn't happened, but there is still a chance that it will. And yet means that despite everything that happened before, everything that comes after, and yet is still known to be true. So what yet says, I haven't done this thing yet, meaning I will sometime in the future, right? And then in yet says, all of this might have happened to me in my past. I may have done this, I might be this, whatever. And yet I can still accomplish whatever, or I have accomplished whatever. And so it doesn't negate the facts. It just adds power to the future.
And that's how you arrest negative thoughts. And so the book will challenge people to take those simple sentences, those simple thoughts of something you haven't done or you don't believe you can do or something that you're not, and add the word yet. Or something you've been through and then say, and yet. And then how does that make you feel? How does that change it from negative to a feeling of hope? That it can be accomplished, that I can do those things. And that's the growth mindset, adding yet to those negative thoughts. The next part is helpers and heroes. Helpers are those on the sidelines, and heroes are those who have a positive impact in your life. No matter how old we are, how much we think, how independent we feel we are, how strong we feel we are, and being strong all the time is not a flex, right? We walk around, especially Black women, believing that we are that we're supposed to always be strong, do everything for everybody, and that is a flex, and that is a strength, and it is okay not to be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. And so we have a section here on guidance is good. Find your helpers. What is a hero? And what is the anatomy of a hero? And then who are your purpose partners? In my work as the director of intervention counseling in a school district, I had 16 intervention counselors that I was responsible for, and I partnered them together. And I said, these are your battle buddies, your purpose partners. These are the people that you will have each other's backs. You will stand together in this war zone and the work that we do. And you will find the purpose within that person that's going to best help you and benefit you. And y'all are going to become like sisters, like brothers, like family. And so we need to find those purpose partners within our lives, and find the reason for that person. And they may not serve every part of your life. They may not be purposeful for every part of your life. We have some different activities here with purpose partners where we say there's family, work, self-care, education, health, and relationships, and you're in the middle. Who's your purpose partner for those different areas of life? Maybe someone is in all of those circles. Maybe there's a person in one circle and they don't fit into other circles. But we need to identify who those people are in our lives and identify what traits they hold that make them a purpose partner for us.
And then after you're identifying your helpers and your heroes,
Let me say one more
go
thing.
ahead.
If you cannot be your authentic self,
Oh, yeah.
you don't totally trust somebody and you can't walk into that space and be your authentic self. If you feel like you have to change a little bit of who you are, take off a little bit of who you are, and wear a mask, they are not your purpose partner. Okay. And so too many times we have all of these friends, all of these partners, these helpers, people that we give our space and our time to that are truly not our purpose partners and don't belong there. And so she's going to talk about the next activity where we need to determine where people belong in our lives.
And so as we're determining where people belong, we think about systems of support and how do we categorize and place these helpers, these heroes. I use the word friend very exclusively. It is not a general term word for me. And so I have friends, I have associates, I have people I know, I have classmates, there's different things, co-workers. And the different examples we use in the book is we ask you to look if your life were a movie or if you were a part of a basketball team, just how would you place people according to those examples? So for example, if your life were a movie, we ask where would people sit in your theater, and then we ask questions about what kind of where they sit in the theater and who's there and who's not there, and do you want them there or not? And then when we talk about it being a team and being like a basketball team, there are different positions and all of that. And so who plays what position on your team? And do you have people placed in the right position? Because sometimes it's not that we can't be our full selves with them. We just have them in the wrong place. Like I have people who are great in my life and they provide wonderful mentorship and help in certain areas, but they might be great business mentors or whatever, but I'm not going to them for marriage mentorship and marriage advice because that's not their role. And if I were to put them in that position, it'll be a detriment to me and to them. And so making sure that you've identified your helpers and heroes and all that, and then they're properly positioned in your life. And sometimes it's not a matter of what can they do to change their position, but what can we do to change their position? And then we talk about care and coping skills. And part of this is recognizing what are your coping skills, good or bad, what are your coping skills? And learning what some coping skills are. So we talk about, one of the ones I like to talk about is journaling. Journaling is not, that's a good segue. Didn't think about it. But journaling is not always writing pages and pages and pages. Journaling can be one sentence. Journaling could be, often I will ask people to do a music journal. I'll say, go through your day, and when you come back, I want you to pick a song for different parts of your day and to express your day in song. Or I one time had a person who was a photographer and they did a photo journal. That was their journaling. So journaling can be different things.
And it's different for everybody. I think sometimes I talk about the benefit of walking. Walking is a self-care coping skill for me, but that doesn't work for everybody. And so really determining what works best for you, what normalizes your mental health, which could be very different from the next person. You can live in the same household with family members and you all have different coping skills, but you need to know what each other's coping skills are in order to normalize your mental health and how you can best relate to each other. The last part of the book is restoration. It's the healing. The healing is the best part of what we do. What all counselors and therapists love is the healing journey, the process of becoming whole and healthy and well again. And healing is a lifelong journey. And so people say, well, how do I go through the book? And then I get to that part and I'm good. I mean, you go back and forth through this book. You may have to repeat some parts of it, but the bottom line is being intentional about your restoration. We encourage you to be intentional about how you treat yourself in all aspects of the things that we talked about in this book. And then it ends with a letter to yourself. A letter to yourself involves ongoing conversations with yourself about your past, present, and future. A letter to your past self, your present self, and your future self. And those are letters that you may have to repeat over and over again. We have a template in the book on how to write that letter to yourself. But the whole goal here is, how do I speak positively about myself, feel better about myself, acknowledge my feelings, become grounded, know my coping skills, the people that I surround myself with, and begin an ongoing lifelong healing journey of restoration.
And then the journal is the Be Intentional Journal, 90 Days of Positive Self-Talk. And I tell people that this is my grief work at work. Earlier in the last year now, I lost someone close to me by suicide. And part of my grief was, I'm a therapist. How did I not see it, how did I not know, and all of that. And I put my grief into creativity, basically. And I did get permission from the family to do this. But this is how to think positively. This is doing it. And so you start your day with it starts with morning hope, and then at the end of your day is evening joy. So again, my word is hope. So starting your day with the intention of expectation, the intention of good for your day. And we're starting with just, how did you sleep last night? Because your sleep affects the rest of your day. And you might find some patterns in how your sleep was, and along with how your day has gone. And then we talk about, and I keep it real simple, and it's really like fill in the blank. And you're talking about what are you giving yourself for the day? What are your intentions for the day? What are your goals for the day? And at the end, it's a positive thought space. And so whatever you want to put in that space, and it's something, when I get up in the morning to go to work, I usually try to sleep in as long as possible. I know other people do way better than me. And so, this is something that we create things that we would use ourselves. And so this is something where if I have 2 minutes, I can do this. And then at the end of the day, you're reflecting on your day. And the thing that I want to talk about on the reflection is, when this happened today, I had this emotion. When this happened today, I used this coping skill. Because a lot of times we go through our day and we don't realize the cause and effects throughout the day. We don't realize in the activity book, we're acknowledging feelings and emotions and helping to identify them. Okay, so now that you've learned that there are different ones, now let's process through it. What did you feel when something happened? And then with the coping skills, sometimes we feel like, I don't know how to do it. I don't have any coping skills. When in actuality, you do. It's just recognizing that thing is a coping skill. You might have, I got upset and I left and went into the bathroom and I cried. That's a coping skill. You remove yourself from the situation, you let out your emotion. And I don't like to say positive and negative emotions. I like to say healthy and unhealthy, because it's not the feeling, it's not the emotion that's bad, it's the behavior that we do. Are we doing destructive things? Or are we doing healing, constructive things? You were about to say something?
I was just saying the journal I love because, again, of course, our word is intentional, right? Intentional hearts, our books are intentional, but you have to be really intentional about how you wake up and how you go to sleep. The thoughts that you wake up to and how you arrest those thoughts and change your mindset changes the trajectory of your day. And then how you go to sleep. What thoughts do you lay your head down and go to sleep on, and how important that is to our mental health. And so that's what it's all about. That's everything in a nutshell. Be intentional, 2 vibes,
One vision.
1 vision.
Can I add one thing? And to conclude or add to what she just said, we remind people that you are the only ones that hears your unfiltered thoughts all day. You hear your unfiltered thoughts from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed. So you have to train, what did you call it?
Training your brain.
Training your
The
brain
strength
muscle.
Conditioning.
Yeah, strength and conditioning, that positive thinking muscle in your brain.
And the more you do it, the more natural it will become.
So that's what we want to do. We want to help build hope that you can start thinking positively so that you can recognize that you are your best accessory. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, wonderful. Let's give TJ and Marcine another hand. Thank you, ladies, for sharing your book and your journey and all this positive information. Are there any questions? This is our Q&A period. Any questions or comments for the authors? Yes. Mhm.
So, is y'all, I mean, is everything faith-based? Like, is it faith-based or is it like?
So the way that I express my counseling is I am not a Christian counselor, but I am a counselor who is a Christian. And so I won't even say I.
I want to ask a question. You just
Yeah.
really kind of summarize the
So
question.
the question was, is our work faith-based? Is that a good summary? And we are not Christian counselors, but we are counselors who are Christian. We have worked with people of all different faith types and those who are atheists and agnostic. It doesn't matter. We meet people where they are and we work with their belief system. However, my foundation is from my religious and spiritual perspective. In my perspective, that's where holding on to hope really comes from. That is literally my spiritual perspective. Is if I can have hope, and whatever that thing is that the person needs to have hope in, then there's a chance for better. Does that answer your question?
And the same with me with you are your best accessory. That is very much based on my faith, because I believe that we've been given everything that we need inside of us, and that we are who God says we are, right? So, but again, I work with people of all faith or do not, they have no spirituality. But if someone opens that door, the client leads the counseling session, right? It belongs to them. And so if they open that door and that's what they want to incorporate and talk about, I'm glad to do it. And incorporate those principles and beliefs.
Right.
Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
So you mentioned the term toxic positivity, and to be honest with you, I've never heard that term before. When you explained what it meant, I understood it, and I like what you said about it. It's important to be positive, but also acknowledge the bad things that are happening.
Right.
Not just ignore them. Can you elaborate on the negative consequences of toxic positivity?
So she's asking to elaborate about toxic positivity and what the consequences of that can be. So let's say I have a terminal illness, right? And there's different things that I can do. Everybody doesn't want to do this kind of treatment. People want to do this, whatever the treatment is. But if I say everything's going to be great, everything's going to be better, and nothing's bad going to happen, and whatever my treatment, however I choose to go through my treatment, toxic positivity is saying if I do absolutely nothing, the outcome is going to be good. But that's not true. You have to do something, whatever that something is, whether that's go and get Americanized, traditional, whatever treatment, whether that's alternative treatment, whether that's I go and speak to my spiritual person, whatever it is, I need support in this. and thinking that I can go through this thing without anything and everything's going to be fine, that's not realistic. And that's detrimental to me, not just physically, but also mentally, because I'm choosing to do this thing alone. Does that make sense? Or even if it's,
This is toxic positivity is all is well. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Every time you talk to the person, everything's fine. I'm good. I'm great. Blessed and highly favored. You know what I'm saying? All the time, as if there is nothing in your life or around you. It actually is a very selfish mindset, toxic positivity, because it means that things may be going well for you at this moment, but you have no acknowledgement of everything that is going on around you or with other people that you may be connected to. And that, so you can be a positive person, but acknowledge the fact that there are some things that are toxic, disastrous, tragic, that are around you or that are happening. And you can respond to those things positively, but you have to acknowledge. It's like not acknowledging your emotions or your feelings and walking around all day and stuffing that. And then you have a big blow up.
And anyone who tries to come into your world with reality or with something that's you feel is against your positive is a hater, is a blocker, is low vibrational, whatever the term you want to give it. When in actuality, they're just speaking facts. They're just acknowledging what Marcine was saying. They're acknowledging the reality of situations. They just want you to see the reality and acknowledge it. And what you choose to do from there is on you. But I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm not trying to block your blessing. I'm not trying to do all those things. I'm just speaking what is as it is.
Did we answer that question?
You did. So when she started elaborating, I thought about, I'm a Christian, and I have faith, but I also believe in working, faith and work. And,
Faith without work is dead.
Right, exactly. But I think there are some folks who believe that, faith alone is enough and it'll be handled as long as you have faith. And I guess that works in some situations. And your definition, you started explaining that.
And I think about how it could be detrimental. Like, I've had clients and whatever in the past who, like if you pray hard enough, this thing will happen. Well, what happens if I pray and that thing doesn't happen? Now I'm mad at God, And so looking at that from a positive thinking standpoint, okay, I'm going to pray, and I'm going to go get myself educated about whatever the situation is, and I'm going to support that person or find support for myself, and again, my hope is still that the outcome that I want will happen, but there's still a possibility that it won't.
Yeah.
And toxic positivity falls a lot into our cultural beliefs that keep people from getting counseling and continues the stigma regarding mental health and counseling. And so we have to be very careful. And I mean, we have a counselor in the room if you want to contribute to it, even a
couple of counselors.
Yeah, another counselor and a man of the cloth that's been in the pulpit back there. So I mean, I think this is open dialogue. I mean, you understand what we're saying, or maybe you have something that you can contribute to toxic positivity, and because I think that this is a cultural thing too.
It is 100%. And I mean, I think add on to what you all were saying, like, definitely as people of faith, I think a lot of times people will, especially when it comes to mental health issues, because I think if we got a headache, it's like, well, I'm not just going to pray and ask God to take away the headache. Yeah, I can do that, but it's like, I'm going to take a Tylenol if my head hurts. But I think when it comes to issues of mental health, people will just say, well, just pray, God will take care of it. Like, as if that's the only thing that, if like God has put all these things around us, like part of your training may be the counseling. Like God is like, no, I put these counselors in front of you to assist you, to help you. Like that is part
He
of
literally calls himself a
the
counselor.
answer. Yeah. And so yes, we 100% have faith. Like I'm going to pray for every situation, but I'm also going to go to my doctor. I'm also going to go to counseling. I'm also going to take the Tylenol. It's not, these things are not contrary to each other. Like God has put all these things around us to assist us. I'm also going to, when my wife and I are having issues, like I'm not just going to pray every night for God to fix her or, whatever it may be. Like I'm going to go to marriage counseling, which we've done to assist us. Because like, all right, well, we can't do this on our own. We need help. And I think, acknowledging that is like, if you're only thinking, well, God will make it happen, it'll happen, but you're not taking steps to change it.
It's like,
you're
it's
not
being
confident.
resourceful, being intentional about the resources that have been given to you to address whatever the problem is.
We have a client base that is, they strongly believe in traditional African medicines and
Mhm.
Western and Eastern medicines and all that, and herbs and all of that. Okay, so let's talk about how we can incorporate that in counseling together to help with uplifting your spirits, with dealing with stress, with whatever is going on. It's not an either or, it's a yes and.
Yeah. So I've heard the term like pray like it's all up to God and work like it's all up to you.
Oh, there
Oh,
you
I've never
go.
heard that. I like that.
So just to repeat that, pray
Like it's all
like
up
it's
to
all
God
up to God
and work
and work
it's
like it's all up to you.
So like if you're going through something hard, you're trying to be through it, or just like your general approach to life, it just shows you have to do your part. Like you got this tool,
Right.
this helper.
When
It's gonna make things work
when
out.
I'm working with people with perfectionism, I basically use that concept of do your best, whatever your best is in that moment. Do what you can do, and then when the outcome happens, whatever that outcome is, I can rest in knowing I did all that I knew to do and was capable.
Or
Of
that
doing.
all that I am in control of. I
Right.
think in counseling, part of what we're always working with our clients to I think acknowledge
Is it-
is that you are only in control
You have
of
two
you
hands.
in certain things, and you have two hands. There's so much you're not in control over. I oftentimes in counseling sessions be like, let's pretend that person is never going to change. That
Yeah.
situation is never going to change. What are you in control over and in control of? And that's what you're responsible for and what we need to
And
concentrate
that's what
on.
positive thinking
And that's
is.
what positive thinking is about.
It's about how do I control what I can control in the healthiest way possible.
Anything, Tawana, you could add? You know I'm gonna pick on you. Okay.
You
Yes,
have
ma'am.
I do want to say I really love this letter to self. I love this concept. And, I'm glad you added that to your book. So there's something I'm going to try to do. I think we all should. I think it's a great thing. I want to talk more about your journal.
Okay.
Because the journal here that's accompanying the book, I love the morning hope and evening joy.
Mhm.
So and then you even go into your sleep. Like my sleep was fitful or restful or noisy or quiet or scary or dreamy. So I just want you to talk a little bit more about your journal and the process behind this.
So I started with the sleep because again, your sleep can change your whole thing. And in all honesty, I'm sometimes a light sleeper. I tend to wake up in the middle of the night and then I can't go back to sleep. And 9 to 5, I used to go in my car and take a nap for lunch every
She
day.
did. She did.
But it made me a better person. In the afternoons, I was fully charged to do whatever I needed to do in the afternoons instead of being exhausted and trying to just push through. So that was part of my self-care was taking a nap. And so, but what I recognized was, okay, so in my sleep, like did I feel like my sleep was troublesome? Or did I feel like, oh good, I got good sleep last night or whatever? Was it noisy or quiet? So, were there ambulances going through? Was somebody snoring next to me? Was I snoring and waking myself up? What was the noise level?
And did you sleep well through that noise level?
Mhm.
I'm a person who I have to have noise to go to sleep.
Yes,
And I have to have the TV on or music to stay asleep. And so for me, that's good sleep. Whereas for someone else, that may cause a restless sleep or a distracted sleep. Like literally, if I'm asleep and then the TV goes off because it's on a timer, I wake up. And so you need to acknowledge what good sleep is for you and what type of environment you need in order to have good sleep.
So we travel together often and we'll share a hotel room. And I sleep to noise too, but I have to sleep in the dark. And so she'll ask me, like, is the TV bothering you? I'm like, no, but I cover myself so I don't have a light. And I usually sleep with, not usually, I sleep with earphones in my ears every night and listening to something. Sometimes it's a podcast, sometimes it's theta waves, but different things, but I have to have it dark. And so just knowing what you need and what's the outcome of your sleep. And then was your sleep scary or dreamy? Like, did you have nightmares? Or did you have nice dreams or no dreams at all? Scientifically, they say everyone dreams. It's just a matter of remembering it. I often don't remember my dreams. So I usually have quote unquote dreamless nights. Yes,
So I
ma'am.
think I think it's interesting how you're bringing sleep into your positivity. Like sleep is very important to your positive energy. So.
I probably wasn't that the Snickers commercial said you're not you when you're hungry. You're not you when you're sleeping. If you think of a baby, if you think of an infant, when the infant is crying, when the infant is on a temper tantrum, whatever, we're checking on sleep, and hunger, right? Sleep, hunger, and harm are usually the three, and bathroom are usually the things that we're checking on. So if that's
Safety.
true for a baby,
Mhm.
that is true for adults as well. That is true for teenagers as well. In the school system, when we worked in schools and there were behavioral issues in the classroom, we had to teach teachers, hey, ask them if they're tired, ask them if they're hungry, do they need a snack? Just what are the basic needs being taken care of? Because if they're not, then how's my brain going to even, at that point, I'm not working from a brain that is ready.
Right.
I'm working from a brain that is craving whatever that thing is, whatever it is.
Yeah, because every behavior is identifying a need, right? We all know that. So I think it boils down to are my physical and mental safety needs met? That's what I hear throughout this whole journal, throughout the book, throughout everything that we're talking about is really tapping into what makes me feel mentally and physically safe, right? And so I think even when you talk about the dreams and things, the reason this journal is so good is you can always go back and you can start seeing patterns. I have my clients journal because I want us to go through so we can both identify patterns because maybe the way I went to sleep or the thoughts I went to sleep with or the emotions determine what my nightmares or dreams were about or how I woke up the next morning. And so those things may seem very simple that you're journaling and trying to identify, but they're very crucial to your mental health.
And the last one with the sleep is how long did you sleep? Did you sleep 2 hours? Did you sleep 8 hours? 5 minutes. When I was going through my depression, one of the things my husband and I realized, I wasn't getting sleep. I was literally working. This is before I started this job. I was working, and literally taking like 5-minute quote unquote naps and then getting back up and working again. So I wasn't even getting any sleep. And sleep is when our brain restores itself. It's when our brain and body restores itself. And so if I'm not giving any restoration to the brain, then my brain is functioning on E.
Just to add on to what you just said, even the word disease is 2 parts. It's disease, it's without ease. And so
I love it.
I like that.
Personally, I'm learning to do what you're saying. And so it's good to hear that you put in the book. Because, I was talking to a friend who's actually a psychiatrist the other day, and she said, man, I woke up with an emotion, an anger emotion. And then when she said this to me, I asked myself, do I even remember the emotions that I wake up with? Am I paying enough attention to even recognize that this is the emotion I woke up with? And so it was kind of a gut check. So I'm starting to try to pay attention to the kinds of emotions I wake up with in the morning. And sleep.
That's so important.
There are comedians who talk about like their wife has a bad dream and then they wake up and they're like, they hit you were cheating on me in my dream. Like it
Woke up
really,
angry.
it truly does matter. And I like that you are becoming more intentional
Mhm.
about recognizing how am I starting, not even like the work day or whatever, but literally my actual day.
Mhm.
What is my emotion at the beginning
What is
of my day?
beginning emotion, and then what is my ending emotion?
Any other thoughts or
I was
questions?
gonna ask the books, what, like age level with the journals, they've got a,
So they're
12,
they're
which will be
I would say
13.
12 and up.
Okay.
We make the language, the content, all of it is 12 and up.
I have used some pieces of the activity book with some of my younger clients, like 6 to 10. Some of the activities.
Yeah, you can honestly you can use activity, especially the coloring activities.
And identifying the emotions,
Yeah, you can
drawing
use.
the faces.
But as far as the processing part of it all,
so,
that would take some guidance. It's not something they could do by themselves.
All righty. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay. Well, ladies, thank you so much for being here. It was
Thank you.
wonderful, very informative. We have books available at the front. The journals in the book is $16.99. So please get your copy and they will sign. And any other last remarks
Yes.
before we
Close out,
Um,
where people can locate you, find you, all that good stuff.
Yes. You can find us. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Intentional Hearts Consulting is usually at Intentional Hearts or at Intentional Hearts CC. And also our website is intentionalheartscc.com. That's the best place to find all things about us and how to reach out to us and communicate with us. We are also starting to form classes, the intentional classes. They will be virtual classes. If you are interested in any of that, please, if you're here in the live audience, just come up and let us know and we'll start creating a list. If you are virtual or seeing a video, please send us a message on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or send us an email. You can always email us at support@intentionalheartscc.com.
And if you sign up for our newsletter, when you get on our website, you will always receive all information about all of our events and all of the great things that are going on with Intentional Hearts. So
And
thank
discounts.
you.
Wonderful. And I am. No moment, I'm trying to end the screen. I'm gonna let you end your phone.